Welcome back, my beautiful family and friends. If you're hooked in and you're ready to enjoy this story, click subscribe and let me know in the comments where you're watching from, because, tomorrow, I will be giving you another story just as interesting as this one. And you don't want to miss it. Now let us begin. Rain drummed softly against the glass walls of a small coffee shop on Westbrook Avenue. It was the kind of place where time slowed down, where laughter and whispers mixed with the smell of roasted beans and cinnamon. Lena Brooks hurried inside, shaking droplets from her umbrella. Her shift at the diner had ended late, and she was half asleep, half frozen. She muttered an apology to the barista as her bag slipped from her shoulder and collided with a chair. A cup toppled. "Whoa, careful there," a calm voice said. Hot coffee splattered over a pile of handwritten notes. She gasped. "Oh my God. I'm so sorry." The man whose papers she'd ruined blinked up at her, brown eyes steady, unreadable, more curious than annoyed. He smiled gently. "You just baptized my business plans." She laughed nervously. "I'll buy you another." He looked down at the mess, then back at her. "Deal. But only if you sit while I dry these off." That was the first time Lena saw Adrian Blake, and the first time she met a man who didn't rush, didn't brag, didn't fill silence with noise. He listened when she spoke. He asked questions and actually waited for answers. By the time the rain stopped, she'd forgotten to check her phone. When they left the cafe together, he held the door open and said, "I'm not usually this lucky when someone spills on me." She smiled. "Maybe I should spill on you more often." They exchanged numbers that night. 2 years later, they shared a small apartment above a bookstore. The ceilings creaked, the water ran cold sometimes. The windows rattled in winter. But it was theirs. Adrian was still the same, humble, calm, always sketching or typing at his laptop. He said he was freelancing for a logistics firm, though sometimes his calls sounded far too formal for small contracts. Lena didn't ask questions. At first. She loved him, truly. The way he brewed her coffee before work, the way he'd leave sticky notes with jokes on the fridge. But lately, those things had started to feel small. Her best friend, Kira, noticed. "You've been quiet lately," she said over lunch. Lena shrugged. "Just tired. Or bored." The word stung. That night, Adrian came home late. His shirt sleeves were rolled, his hair disheveled, and there was a trace of exhaustion in his eyes. He smiled when he saw her on the couch. "Hey. I picked up your favorite dumplings." She nodded, scrolling through photos on her phone. Kira's boyfriend had just surprised her with a trip to Santorini. "You okay?" Adrian asked. She forced a smile. "Fine." He watched her for a moment, then said softly, "If you ever want more out of life, tell me. I'll do what I can." She looked up. "More? Like what?" He hesitated. "Whatever you dream about." Something in the way he said it made her chest tighten, like he was offering more than words. But she didn't know how to answer, so she just said, "Dreams don't pay rent." He chuckled. "Some of them do." She didn't ask what he meant, and he didn't explain. Weeks later, a new client started visiting the diner where Lena worked. Ryan Carter. Crisp suit. Rolex. Smile that screamed confidence. He noticed her immediately. "You have the kind of face people remember," he said on his second visit. She laughed awkwardly. "You say that to all your waitresses?" "Only the ones worth remembering." He left a $100 tip for a $10 meal. Lena told herself it was nothing. But the attention, it felt good. Ryan talked about investors, penthouses, parties on yachts. He painted the kind of life she secretly envied. When Adrian asked how her day went, she said, "Fine." But the words started sounding like a lie. One Friday night, Adrian brought home takeout again. He noticed she was dressed up. Going somewhere? Kira's party, she said quickly. He smiled. Have fun. I'll try. She didn't go to Kira's. She met Ryan downtown instead. The restaurant was bathed in gold light. Everything sparkled: the glasses, the laughter, the lies she told herself. When Ryan touched her hand across the table, she didn't pull away. For a moment, she imagined what life with him might look like: luxury, admiration, certainty. Then she thought of Adrian, of the quiet, of the cracked ceilings, of the endless patience. And she felt nothing but confusion. Would you trade love that feels small for a life that looks grand? Comment below, what would you choose if comfort and loyalty weren't the same thing? Lena's phone buzzed under the table while Adrian cooked dinner. Ryan, I can pick you up tonight. He doesn't have to know. She stared at the message until her chest hurt. Adrian hummed softly in the kitchen, stirring sauce, unaware that her thoughts were already somewhere else. Smells good, she said, forcing cheerfulness. He smiled over his shoulder. It's your favorite spaghetti with too much garlic. Her laughter sounded hollow. Later that evening, while Adrian washed dishes, she slipped her phone into her coat pocket and said, Kira's not feeling great, I'll check on her. He dried his hands. Want me to come? No. The answer came too fast. She softened her voice. It's just girl stuff. I'll be quick. He nodded slowly. Okay. Be safe. The door closed. Silence swallowed him. He looked down at the dish towel in his hands. For the first time, his smile didn't reach his eyes. The hotel Ryan chose overlooked the city skyline, lights stretching endlessly, tempting and empty. You deserve nights like this, he murmured, tracing a finger along her wrist. Lena wanted to believe him. She wanted to believe she hadn't crossed a line she couldn't return from. But when morning came and sunlight filtered through the curtains, she saw her reflection in the glass: smeared lipstick, tired eyes, a woman she barely recognized. Her phone lit up. Adrian, breakfast? Or are you working late? Her throat closed. She didn't reply. By the time she got home, he was gone for work. A sticky note waited on the counter. Left coffee for you. Don't skip breakfast again. Tears blurred the words. She crumpled the note and threw it away. 2 days later, Adrian came home early. He stopped in the hallway. Laughter drifted from the living room, a man's voice. He opened the door. Ryan sat on the couch, his arm around Lena, who froze mid-smile. The grocery bag slid from Adrian's hand, apples rolling across the floor. Nobody moved. Ryan stood. Man, I didn't know. Adrian's voice was calm, almost eerily gentle. It's fine. You should go. Ryan grabbed his jacket and left. When the door closed, only the ticking clock filled the space. Adrian, please, Lena began. He shook his head. You don't have to explain. Tears flooded her eyes. I didn't mean to. Yes, you did, he said softly. You just didn't think it would cost you anything. She reached for him, but he stepped back. Lena, I loved you quietly. Maybe that's the problem, you couldn't hear something that soft. He turned toward the door. Adrian, where are you going? Home, he said simply. You are home. He looked around their tiny apartment, the photos, the couch, the life they'd built, and gave a faint, broken smile. No. Not anymore. The door shut gently behind him. Days passed. Then a week. His number disconnected. His belongings disappeared. Landlord said the rent had been paid 6 months ahead. Lena called everyone they both knew. No one had heard from him. At first, anger replaced guilt. How dare he vanish without giving me a chance to fix it? Then anger gave way to emptiness. She walked into their old bedroom one night and opened the drawer where he kept sketches, drawings of cities, designs, strange symbols she never understood. On one page, beneath a perfectly rendered skyline, he had written, "When you build quietly, the world assumes you have nothing." She sat on the bed clutching that paper, realizing she'd never really known the man who'd loved her. 3 months later, Ryan stopped returning her messages. He had another woman. Another party. Another car. The apartment she'd moved into smelled of cheap perfume and regret. Bills piled up. Friends grew distant. Sometimes she'd dream of Adrian coming through the door again, tired, kind, forgiving. But every morning she woke alone to the same silence he'd once left behind. One evening, she returned home to find an envelope slipped under her door. No return name. Just her address in familiar handwriting. Her fingers trembled as she opened it. Inside was a single sheet. "I hope you find what you were looking for. Don't look for me again." No signature. Just a faint scent of his cologne, sandalwood and rain. She pressed the letter to her chest and wept until dawn. Now a quick question before we continue. Have you ever destroyed something pure because you mistook quiet love for weakness? What would you say to the one person you hurt most if you had one more chance? 6 months passed. The city moved on, Lena didn't. She still worked double shifts at the diner, still caught herself glancing at the door every time it opened. Adrian had vanished like smoke, no trace, no forwarding number, no social media footprint. Until one gray afternoon. A group of businessmen came into the diner for lunch, all tailored suits and sharp voices. One of them dropped a newspaper on the counter as they left. A headline caught her eye. Blake Industries announces next-gen energy division led by Adrian Blake. Her heart stopped. She read it twice, 3 times. The photo showed him at a podium, same brown eyes, same quiet poise, but different. Confident. Powerful. Surrounded by microphones. The article read, "Adrian Blake, son of billionaire industrialist Charles Blake, has officially joined the executive board of Blake Corporation." Her fingers trembled. Son of billionaire Charles Blake. Her Adrian. The man who wore thrift store jackets and walked everywhere. The man who told her, money doesn't make things better. He hadn't been modest, he'd been hiding. The world blurred. The room tilted. She fled to the restroom, gripping the sink until her knuckles turned white. How could I not see it?" she whispered to the mirror. The mirror didn't answer. It just showed her the truth. She traded real gold for glitter. That night she walked home in the rain without an umbrella. For the first time, she understood what cold really felt like. The next morning she stood in front of a glass skyscraper downtown Blake Industries headquarters. 32 stories of mirrored windows cutting into the clouds. Her reflection in the lobby doors looked small, almost transparent. "Good afternoon," the receptionist said. "Do you have an appointment?" Lena swallowed. I need to see Adrian Blake." The woman tapped at her computer. "I'm sorry, ma'am, he doesn't take unscheduled visits." "Please," Lena said. "Just tell him Lena Brooks is here. He'll know me." The receptionist frowned. "I'll check." She made a quiet call, nodded once, then turned back. "I'm sorry, Ms. Brooks. Mr. Blake asked that his personal visitors be cleared through his assistant only." "He knows who I am," Lena insisted. "Please, just." A security guard appeared, polite but firm. "Ma'am, you'll have to step aside." She felt dozens of eyes on her as she backed away. The marble floor might as well have been ice. Outside, she stared up at the skyscraper. 32 floors of distance between her and forgiveness. She whispered to herself, "I only wanted to say I'm sorry." That evening she wrote him an email, short, honest, desperate. "Adrian, I don't want anything from you. I just need you to know that I finally understand what you were trying to show me. You were never small. I was just blind, asterisk. Hours passed. Then her inbox chimed. From Adrian Blake. Subject, Re. Lena. I'm glad you're well. I don't hold anger anymore. But some doors, once closed, aren't meant to reopen. She read it until the words blurred. It was kind. Final. And it hurt worse than hatred ever could. That night she sat by her window, city lights flickering below. She whispered to the empty room. Why did you have to be so gentle about leaving? No answer. Just the quiet hum of the city, the same hum that used to fill their apartment when he worked late, back when love still felt simple. Winter painted the city in glass and silence. Snow drifted past the windows of the Sterling Hotel, where Blake Industries was hosting its annual charity gala. Photographers buzzed, lights flashed, the world sparkled. Lena wasn't invited. But she was there. She stood across the street, her breath fogging in the cold, clutching a worn scarf, the one Adrian once bought her from a street vendor because she'd said she liked the color. Through the revolving doors she could see him. Adrian Blake. Black tuxedo. Calm smile. His hand resting on the arm of a woman in an emerald gown, elegant, poised, someone who fit perfectly in his world. Lena's stomach twisted. Every light, every laugh on that red carpet felt like a blade. She didn't know what she'd been hoping for. Maybe a glance. Maybe recognition. But when he turned slightly, their eyes met. It was only for a heartbeat. And in that heartbeat, time broke. She took a step forward then stopped. The security guards flanked the door. Adrian's expression didn't change. He looked at her as though she were part of the crowd, someone he'd once known in another life. Then he turned away, whispering something to the woman beside him. She smiled, touched his arm, and together they disappeared into the light. Lena's knees went weak. The snow melted against her tears. She whispered into the cold. You promised me forever, but I guess forever expires when you stop seeing me. That night, she walked home without feeling her feet touch the ground. A week later, she found the courage to write him again. I saw you at the gala. You looked happy. I hope she treats you the way I should have. You were right, money doesn't change who you are. It only shows who everyone else is. She didn't expect a reply. But the next evening, her phone buzzed. Adrian, Lena, please don't come to my events. My world is different now, and I don't want you hurt by it. I've forgiven you. That's enough for both of us. The words were soft. But they ended everything. That night she whispered, if forgiveness feels this final, I'd rather you still hated me. Months passed. Seasons changed. Lena tried to rebuild herself from the ruins. She found a new job at a local bookstore, quiet and honest work. But peace didn't erase memory. Every once in a while she'd see his name. Adrian Blake announces scholarship fund, Adrian Blake donates to Children's Hospital, Adrian Blake visits old neighborhoods. Each headline felt like another reminder that he was doing good in a world that had nearly destroyed him and that she had been the one to push him toward it. She told herself she was happy for him. Then one morning, fate, cruel and ironic, intervened. A small charity organization came into the bookstore to sponsor a reading event. Their new benefactor had just confirmed attendance. The name on the email, Blake. The air left her lungs. The event day arrived. Children filled the aisles with laughter. Volunteers bustled. Lena helped stack books on a display table, hands trembling. Then she heard a familiar voice behind her, calm, warm, professional. Thank you all for organizing this. Her body froze. Slowly, she turned. Adrian stood a few feet away, speaking with the store manager. Up close, time did strange things. He looked older, not in age, but in distance. The boy she'd known was gone. The man in front of her carried grace and restraint carved by heartbreak. When the crowd thinned, he noticed her. Their eyes met again. He gave a small nod. Polite. Civil, the kind of acknowledgement strangers give when words would cost too much. She swallowed hard. Adrian. He smiled faintly. Lena. Her throat burned. I didn't expect you'd. Neither did I. They stood in awkward silence, the air between them thick with everything unsaid. I read about your work, she said finally. You're doing incredible things. Trying to, he replied. I wanted to say thank you for forgiving me. Even if I didn't deserve it. Adrian's expression softened. Forgiveness isn't about who deserves it. It's about who needs peace. She blinked back tears. And you found yours? He hesitated. I'm still learning how to live with it. Her hand twitched at her side. I'll never stop being sorry, Adrian. He gave her a long, steady look, the kind that once made her heart race. But this time, it only made it ache. Then he said quietly. Some stories don't end because of hate. They end because love outgrew what broke it. And before she could respond, someone called his name from across the room. He smiled politely, turned, and walked away. Lena stood there, hands shaking, whispering into the noise of the bookstore. Then why does it still feel like I'm part of your story? Spring returned to the city, bringing soft winds and pale sunlight. The bookstore where Lena worked had changed, new paint, new shelves, new beginnings. But her heart carried the same weight. She hadn't seen Adrian since the charity event. Every day she told herself she was over it. Every night, she dreamed of the man who taught her what real love looked like and what happens when you mistake it for nothing. Sometimes she caught herself writing letters she never sent. Sometimes she rehearsed apologies no one would hear. But mostly, she just lived. Quietly. Honestly. Alone. One morning, while unpacking new stock, she found a small parcel with her name written on it in neat handwriting. No return address. Her hands trembled as she tore the paper open. Inside was a slim hardback book, bound in navy blue. On the cover, The Weight of Forgiveness, a collection of speeches by Adrian Blake. Her vision blurred. Flipping through the pages, she stopped at one highlighted passage from a recent conference. Forgiveness is not reconciliation. Sometimes, letting go is the purest form of love. You release the person, not because they deserve peace, but because you do. Asterisk. She pressed her hand against the words, tears slipping down her face. There was a note tucked in the back. Lena. I thought you might want to see what I've been writing about. You were a part of my story, just not the ending. I wish you happiness, truly. The handwriting was his. Steady. Calm. Final. Lena closed the book and whispered. And I wish I'd been patient enough to see who you really were. That evening, she walked down to the riverside where they used to go when life was simpler. The water shimmered with the reflection of skyscrapers, his world, shining above hers. She sat on a bench, holding the book against her chest. Around her, couples laughed, joggers passed, street musicians played soft piano tunes. She smiled faintly. For the first time, the memory didn't crush her, it simply existed, like an old scar that no longer hurt but still reminded her where she'd been cut. Somewhere across the city, Adrian Blake was likely finishing another meeting, shaking hands, smiling for cameras, talking about innovation and philanthropy. And maybe, just maybe, once in a while, he thought of her not with pain, but with gratitude for the lesson she'd left behind. Months later, Lena moved to a small coastal town, far from the noise of the city. She opened a modest cafe by the sea, a quiet place filled with books, coffee, and the sound of waves. Above the counter hung a framed quote from Adrian's book. Some stories don't end in reunion. They end in realization. Every time someone asked her about it, she smiled softly and said, "It's a reminder that sometimes, the people who break us also teach us how to build again." And on certain rainy nights, when thunder echoed across the coast, she'd whisper a name that the wind would carry far away. Adrian. Not with regret. Not with longing. But with love that had finally learned its place in memory. If you lost someone because you didn't see their worth, would you chase them again or learn to let them go? Comment below, what does forgiveness mean to you, healing or goodbye? Thank you for watching this video to the end. I'm pretty sure you enjoyed it. We have a lot of other interesting and beautiful stories lined up for you already, so click on the image showing on your screen to watch the next one.